Hello, please sign into my operating system.
Welcome to the proposal for my video game called Null. It is a third-person hack and slash. A hack and slash is a video game genre where you beat enemies up with a melee weapon. In-game, you play as Null, a robotic hunter who works for the organization known as Dive. The organization has existed for millennia and is skilled in interdimensional travel. They carry out missions across multiple dimensions, mostly for customers who pay them greatly in information or materials. These missions mostly consist of eliminating a target or gathering information for the customer. As Null, you carry out most of these missions for them. The main audience for the game will be late teens and adults who want a hack and slash video game. But not only is it for returning hack and slash players, it is also for new players who want a challenging and rich video game to play. I will talk about unique points as I continue. Null will have one campaign with an unknown number of missions, and the synopsis is as follows. In the year unknown, Dive records interdimensional travel from a dimension codenamed
DE902334.
In this dimension, a megacorporation called Dynamacy on the planet Evile is on the cusp of interdimensional travel. Within the history of Dive, there has never been any other organization or individual capable of interdimensional travel. Dive cannot be compromised. Therefore, they have tasked Null on the job in order to deal with the problem in DE90234 and to keep Dive secure. After the campaign, you can do two alternate game modes, one being called Elimination and the other being Defense. In Defense, you start on one of many maps and defeat waves of enemies converging on your position, while in Elimination, you are sent on a mission and assigned to do multiple objectives. Now onto the gameplay. Your main weapon is the V13 Garawa, a Terran-inspired design that can cut through anything. And then on the opposite side of the blade is a repulsor, which can launch about anything a distance away. In-game, the Garawa is used against your enemies, but it's also imbued with different elements such as incendiary, cryo, etc. And certain enemies will be imbued with these elements, so you'll have to switch between them to best deal with the enemy. And for the repulsor, it will take away 1/4 of the health away from bosses and one-shot smaller enemies. Lastly, you have the Vasba, the tail of Null, which can use for interacting with electronic objects around the missions and other game modes. Null is not just about swinging a weapon at your enemies, it's also about dodging enemy attacks. Many enemies take your full attention to be dealt with. Along with that, there are many unique enemy designs, from enemies that leap at you, giant mechs, and enemies that can only be eliminated if you damage their back. Finally, there's a second wind system, quote-unquote. In-game, this is called Rage Mode. It activates when your shield breaks, increasing damage output but slowing you down a bit. When you get a kill in Rage Mode, it instantly restores your shields and disables Rage Mode. The soundtrack of Null is a big focus. The soundtrack will mainly focus around electronic music and different forms of it through something I call a core system. A quirk in your character's programming, which improves its compatibility with music. You can access these cores through the menu to change your abilities. Each different core will change the different type of electronic music, though there are a few standout cores that will change the musical genre. Currently, Null does not have a development team. It's only me working on the idea and eventually the game. Though in the future, if this idea does get signed on to any major game company, I do have a few people in mind I would want to work on the development team that I do not have the power to employ, specifically working on the soundtrack. Overall, you've been shown the interesting premise, the main audience, which will be late teens and adults, the exhilarating campaign and two game modes, the main idea of combat and gameplay, and the idea for the soundtrack, and finally the development team of the game, which is only me. Thanks for listening and goodbye.